Hi, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to episode 4. We're looking at level 3 computing IT cyber security qualification alternatives. This is the Funded Not Derailed mixed study programs for 2026 in partnership with Cambridge OCR. My name is Gavin O'Mara and I'm joined by Vinay. You're on mute, my friend.
Vinay Thawait, subject advisor at Cambridge OCR.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. We've got a really cool episode. And if you've joined us, we've been on a bit of a journey, haven't we, Vinay? I know you've been on every single episode, actually, which has been really good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So today is episode 4, and we're looking at level 3 computing IT and cyber. And it's looking at the whole sort of qualification landscape. So we've gone on a journey. And this is all around looking at the alternatives, really. So level 3 computing, IT, cybersecurity qualification alternatives. There's a lot happening at the moment. So we've gone on a journey where we've looked at the whole reform and what's going on. We're looking at how colleges can plan. Last week, we started to then drill down into subject specifics. So then we looked at science last week. This week is looking at computing IT cybersecurity qualification alternatives, basically. So now we're on episode 4, and it's basically one of the fastest areas of industry in the world of work. Digital skills also become incredibly critical for everyone in the economy, and colleges play a role in preparing learners for developing careers in industry, but also getting learners ready for apprenticeships, but also into further academic study into higher education. So there's that balance. And today we're looking at qualification reform, the introduction of new pathways, like say V-levels, and how these are prompting colleges to review what these programs are structured and how they're delivered, both right now and in the future. So the plan for today is to look at the right now changes, but also the sort of mid and longer term that we're trying to do as well. So together we're going to explore the options available and discuss how colleges can design programs that both meet learner needs and industry demand. And looking at that immediate and longer term future. We're joined by Chris and Armin, who are both with Caddywiff and Coventry College. But Vinay, I'm really wanting to sort of set the scene a little bit first. We've seen significant reform across all level 3 qualifications. So how's this playing out specifically in computing, IT and cybersecurity?
Well, as you know, the vocational qualification reform for level 3 brings a new level 3 V-levels qualification from 2027. And the DFE has announced the subject, which will be digital, education and finance. And our focus in this session is V-levels in digital qualifications. What this means that there will be no funding available from September 2027 for currently available current Cambridge Advanced National, which we call AAQs, in data analytics, application development, and cybersecurity. And also for Cambridge Technicals in IT, which are larger qualification, 1080 GLH. So V-level will then run alongside A-levels and T-levels from September 2027. However, what we need to think of, the colleges are planning for September 2026 with the possibility of combining different qualifications to make a mixed study program for the students. So thinking this way, the level 3 Cambridge Advanced Nationals in either data analytics, application development or cybersecurity qualification, they can combine with either with A-levels or combined within another V-levels, AAQs, or they continue to teach Cambridge Technical larger qualification because the government U-turn on the funding available for September 2026. Or they can also choose to carry on with other level 3 qualification offered by other awarding organizations. The good news is that from 2027, there will be a real opportunity for colleges in England to offer a mixed study program at level 3, where the students will have a clear career progression pathways to combine V-levels with A-levels or another V-levels.
Yep, and that's really put it into a really good nutshell. When V-levels, we're looking at that mix as well, isn't it? Around what does that mean and doing that combination really. But is how do people plan, and what do we do? So this is why we thought we'd bring in some practitioners. So I wonder if we could bring in our guests. So Armin from Coventry College and Chris from Caliwith. I wonder if I could bring you both into the studio. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry.
I didn't know if you wanted to kick off with.
Oh, yeah. Well, hello. Hi, Aman and Chris. Good to see you in this session. Thank you for joining the session as well today. What I would like to ask is, what should college prioritize when reviewing their digital or cyber curriculum for 2026? September it starts, and also a long term.
Aman, do you want to start off with that?
So what we're doing at Coventry is we're keeping digital and cyber up to date with industry needs. So the biggest one that we've identified is core cybersecurity protocols, hands-on experience, and we're evolving our curriculum with employer input as much as possible. So we came from companies over the last couple of weeks, and employers are saying that they want to develop soft skills like programming, communication, and teamwork. So that's how we're prioritizing the curriculum.
Yeah, no, cool. Chris.
Yeah, well, I would like to echo some of the statements there, as me and my deputy manager are both the cyber experts on the in the team. So what we found in terms of definitely practical skills, especially even at protocol levels and even a bit of scripting and coding, they don't really have that much coming into it. So we are now trying to get them up to scratch with, like, virtual box environments, just trying to get them to be hands-on, or as much hands-on as they can be within in a classroom setting, which is why we're prioritizing the skills at that level. We also want them to get more sort of experience as well. So we are now trying to get more employer input. But being in Cornwall, it has been definitely challenging because there aren't that many IT places around Cornwall that we can actually get into contact with.
That's a really good point, actually, Chris, around the geography and opening it up for different people. Can I ask how you both sort of touched on it, actually, but how are you trying your best to be able to make sure that programs are relevant for such a fast-moving sector? It's that forward planning, really. Chris, you sort of touched on that a bit with your specialism and also looking local. But I don't know, Chris, did you want to kick off with how are you sort of trying to make sure that it's meeting industry needs?
So what we try to do, like in the first lesson, is just getting the students to look at what kind of jobs are available within the cyber market, and then when they analyze the skills, like, oh yeah, but I don't have that skill and that skill, and it's like, yeah, but that's what we're trying to get you to build on. So we look at the gaps in the job market that way, but also my deputy manager again is one of these sort of up and coming sort of data scientists that we've got in here, because none of us is a data scientist, but he loves all the data and even all the stuff that comes in with AI, which is why he was literally grabbing me by the throat and shaking me, saying, we need to do the data science AAQ, which I was like, fine, whatever, because it is filled with all the new technology and actually the most current up-to-date technology that we actually need in the classroom, because we can be teaching things from like year upon year upon year without checking, is this still relevant? So that's why we keep trying to look at qualifications, look at curriculum updating, to see if we can't fit in all the new technologies that are now actually up and coming in the industry.
Yeah, and data science is a huge growth area. If you're looking Southwest, you've got probably the biggest data science hub is Met Office, for example, isn't it? And stuff. So you've got an awful lot within there, but it's across everything, isn't it? Really, data science is key for us trying to work out all sorts of things. Aman, what are you sort of what are your thoughts on how you sort of trying to ensure that you're developing? You touched on it, like those skill sets which employers are looking for and stuff like that.
So we've been lucky that we went to a company last week, and what we discussed is, if we want to get learners employed in your company, what skill sets, what criteria do the learners need to get into the company? So they've created like a cheat sheet for us, which tells us, here's the skills, the criteria that we're looking for, what kind of capabilities the learners will be doing in the first few weeks of a job role. And we've started sharing that with our learners. So the learners are saying, right, I can problem solve, but my time management skills possibly not the best. So how can I improve on this to get into a job? They've also got companies coming to interview our kids, especially on the level 3 program, to see where the areas of weaknesses and developments are, to try and support the learners into the interview process to help them overcome that barrier and hopefully get employed.
Yeah, no, very, very cool. Level 3 is one of those ones where you get the split, isn't it? If you know what I mean. So it's like people are still experimenting. Like, do I want to go down the academic sort of route? Do I want to go like apprenticeship or go straight into employment and stuff like that? It's getting that balance, if you know, because people are still understanding, like you said, Chris. Do I want to go cyber? Do I want to look at data science? Do I want to look at IT in general? You know, networking. Where do we go? And you know, when they're 16, they probably don't. They probably don't know what they want to be able to do until they start playing.
Yeah.
How are you also trying to do that juggle? Not just looking to be job ready, but also to be able to help people with further academic sort of route around going the university route as well. Owen, did you want to like share what you guys are sort of planning and doing, and thinking of how you're the immediate, what we've got seen now with qualification reform and the changes that are coming, but also forward planning a little bit?
So we're trying to get a lot more practicals within our courses. So you've got the theory in your minds, and then you've got hands-on experience. So those learners that do want to go into industry straight away, they should know what a network is. Then they'll be able to physically touch it and can wire it up and set it up correctly, so they get to mess around with servers, identify mistakes, and we try to get the learners to learn from the mistakes rather than a lecturer just saying, this is what you've done wrong, this is how to fix it. And in terms of university, we try to support them with UCAS early, so looking at the different courses available and how does, especially the cyber course, how does that go in, which pathway do you want to go into? Do you want to go to the networking? Do you want to go to the forensics? So it's, again, having them conversations early, providing relevant qualifications as well. We also do Cisco courses as well to get learners prepared. So if they decide they want to go both routes, you've got that opportunity. And it's broadening the learning is always the aim at Coventry College, to prepare the students for both industry and future education.
Yeah, that's really cool. You're doing blended there as well, and adding in those extras for people. I like that. Chris, what sort of things are you doing with your learners around doing the balance of obviously work ready, but also looking at those that want to go down the academic route?
Well, I'm trying to bridge like both the A levels and like even the vocational one as much as possible. So what I mean by that is we've actually got some Arduino sets that we've actually just been delivered now. So in the A level, they learn logic gates and binary and all the other stuff, but now they can actually see it working on the sort of circuit board. So if they've got the maths right, the lights will light up if they've got the right circuitry in that way. And then for the level 3s, what we're trying to do is, again, I can talk at the front and like give them lecture after lecture about networking, how things are cabled up and how things work. But I think the benefit of being a very small college is that everyone knows each other, so I can literally just pop down into IT and they can just give us a tour of the server room, and then I can say, look, this is how everything works up, this is how things are networked, and this is how everything looks from a day-to-day in industry. And then they've got the academic route with university speakers that we've got good ties with, Falmouth and Plymouth, so they often come down and give talks and say this is what we can do in in university. But they've also got that balance of this is what it's like in industry, because again, the IT guys are really, really good and really supportive here, and they do help us out whenever we ask. Yeah,
that's really interesting. You're doing that bridge actually to be able to see like the overall within there. No, that's cool. Sorry, Ray, I've like asked about 1,000 questions there. It's over to you.
No, it's okay, but just thank you very much for sharing, Aman and Chris, how you working through the qualifications and how you're planning this. What I'd like to know is from a college perspective, that means what are the key considerations when you're planning at level 3, our IT computing and cyber provisions, and also when you talk about, can you think of how might the introduction of V levels from 2027 September with a mixed study program will influence your digital curriculum design? Could I just pass that to Aman in first place, please, if that's all right?
So at the moment, we're looking at skills and local demands. So what we've identified, especially for future V levels, is that IT and business go hand in hand. So that's potentially what we're going to be planning. So we're hoping that we could do cyber, data and business, because they all interlink. businesses require the internet at some point, I'm assuming. So there will be a network manager on point. Data, again, so much is used in business where you got people looking at the data, suggesting ideas. So that's what we're hoping for in the future. We're also hoping that the software application might be an option for us. So we can possibly merge that with media. So we've got cyber, data, making games with the media. So that's what we're hoping to do in 2027 onwards. And most of it is basically from what employers have told us, their needs and requirements, and that's how we mainly deliver our program. So cyber and data was the biggest things that came up. So we're offering that from September.
Well, that's great. But sorry, Gavin, just to introduce that here, means from 2027, what we don't know yet is what the curriculum or qualification will look like. We do not have the DFE content, which will be consultation will be open when the DFE is ready for it. And then we will be given the content to design a qualification. And what we're not sure of, what content will that include? IT, cyber, computing, data analytics, data science. We have no idea at the moment. So it's very difficult for me to ask you a question, or Chris, saying how will that impact V levels. However, the mixed study program is what qualification will be out from 2027, what it will look like. We don't know that yet, but still planning has to be there. Sorry, Gavin, you were going to say something.
What I was saying is I think it sounds like Arne is talking about is already planning for that V-level route, really, around having that mixed approach. So you can then go flick into media, you can flick into, it's doing that blend. I think this is what the benefit and what the vision for V-levels and A-level blend is to be able to have that academic and vocational route, isn't it? If you know what I mean. So it sounds like that's what you're already sort of planning in there. There's a mixed package of it, but trying to be industry led with it as well. It's an interesting approach to it. I think it's really cool. Chris, what are you guys up to?
So when we were looking into what the V levels could be, obviously we didn't know, but we did identify the gap of the skills that are needed to go into industry and even going forward into higher education. And we thought that the AAQ route would be the best sort of option for them, which is why we were going to run all three. And then what we're hoping is that the V levels will be some kind of blend of the AAQs that we've already done, because we wanted to do the AAQs because they literally incorporate everything that we need. They have the skills, they have the up-to-date technology, they have all the up-to-date resources there. So that's what we currently, I think we honestly should be teaching. But because we don't know what V levels are, we're hoping that because we now have an up-to-date program, it would be similar to what we're already teaching, which is why we fought for the AAQ route in the first place.
Great.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. But you touched on something which I've been sort of thinking about, and we're exploring on this sort of season, if you know what I mean, and stuff. How are you sort of managing with like different capabilities within learners to be able to make it interesting for everyone, and stretching, but also it's stepping into that V-level route around, Armand, you sort of touched on it, around looking media with IT, cyber, and it's having that sort of mixture of route, but you're, as Vinay is saying, we don't know exactly what's going to be in those quals. So what sort of things are you trying to do to be able to do that crossover? How are you working with different departments, for example, in the college, to be able to try and come up with good matches for people? Is that sort of things that you're doing at the moment, and thinking of different quals of how to do that mix and match for people? I'm just out of interest, really.
Yeah, so we looked at the AAQ, so cyber and data, and we thought what would be the best fit with this. So we started looking at other specs, and we found business was the key one. That's the one I mentioned earlier. There's so much interlink. Even when we ran the 2016 spec, there's a lot of business modules in there, so it just seemed a natural fit to go with business. And media, I bring that up potentially for 2027 onwards, is because of the gaming route. You've got there's a clear route there, so it's thinking about what's a natural fit for the courses. And then obviously planning with the departments. I think the only issue will be timetabling, and that'll be the biggest headache. If we can get all the departments on board, because obviously every qual's up in the air at the moment, will come to in the future. I think that's the best route forward departments if we can merge and work together as teams and just timetable around each curriculum.
Yeah, no, interesting. Chris, are you sort of doing similar sort of approach as well?
Yeah, we are doing a similar sort of approach. I mean, we found that in terms of, at least with student engagement, when we talk about like the gaming elements, like the AAQ and application development, even on our current BTEC, that always gets the highest student sort of input and sort of engagement. So we're trying to keep those elements as much as possible, because what we found is that students do like practicals, and the easiest practical at the moment is doing the game dev and the programming side of things as well. So that's why when we're looking at various different things, especially down the AAQs, they've got a lot of practical elements in there. So we're trying to keep that engagement, but also trying to steer them into different sectors. So we're trying to say, look, you can do practical things as well as in cybersecurity. You can do things in data management and look at how big AI is growing and see how that impacts them and things like that. So we are trying to keep the engagement as well as trying to steer that engagement into other things, because as soon as students pick up something new, they're like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I could go down this route, instead of steering them all seemingly towards the gaming route.
Yeah, no. Vinay, can I ask you, because obviously you're subject advisor for, and it's interesting, around computing, iMedia, IT, cyber. Are you sort of planning out that sort of cross sort of purpose around how? Because basically, data, IT, digital, everything sits on that, if you know what I mean, and stuff. And it's got so many different routes to go. So are you sort of thinking a similar sort of approach to qualifications and what that means? It's looking at the reform, but also that blended approach, isn't it? If you know what I mean.
It is, and that was the reason for we to bring out the AAQs, which is Cambridge Advanced Nationals, to having 3 different pathways for students to choose or mix either all 2 or all 3 qualifications with A levels, or just have a combinations of data analytics with application development and including the cyber role. So that's the plan, and that's why we develop these qualifications. IT and computing, which is a category of qualification for data analytics and application development, which we started teaching from September 25. However, the cyber is a first teach September 2026, and that will be for one cohort of the students, because the funding is not available from 2027. So we're hoping that the DFE content, if and when is going to be published, we will be able to redevelop or develop new V levels qualification, which combines or brings some of the content from our 3 AAQs. But it's indefinite. We don't really know where and what the content will look like, and we don't know there is nothing for me to share further than saying, we're just waiting. We all are waiting for the DFE content. When we develop AAQs, we designed the curriculum, we designed the content, we chose what we wanted to include in each IT, computing, and cyber category qualification. Whereas the V levels will be DFE content, such as we have done for GCSE or A levels. So DFE give the contents, conditions, subject, and then subject for regulations from AFCOL. That all comes whenever it comes. We will then be able to plan our V levels for 2027 first teach. But there is a very short time we have to start to develop that, and these colleges, I don't know how much time they will have. Means we will try our best to get as soon as possible, but we do not have a timeline either from the DFE other than saying the first teach should begin on 2027 for digital.
Oh, cool. It's really handy to it's good to have the other side as well. We can't talk about computing, IT, digital, cyber without AI. So I'm sure that every learner, every employer, every parent, everyone is asking about AI. How are you sort of supporting learners, employers be ready? It's such a fast moving world. Armand, around AI, what are the main things that you're sort of coming out? What would you hope to be able to see come into development?
So we're trying to promote AI more than anything else. So we know learners use it for assignments, but we're now trying to get them to understand how to actually use it appropriately. So if a teacher doesn't understand something, let's use AI to help support you understand more than anything else. So websites, for example, is one of the biggest things AI is used for. So we're trying to promote that with learners. Like, you don't need to sit there, you don't need to know coding anymore. You can use AI, but it'll be value for you to learn it because it teaches you problem solving skills more than anything else. It enables you to communicate with other people, say, well, what have you learned, and share that knowledge. So we're trying to embrace AI as much as possible, but the right way, not the unethical way.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And we say it's such a general term. It's like saying IT now, isn't it? It's such a general term. It's homing in more, isn't it? Chris, what's your sort of thoughts on AI? AI in cyber is going to be like really interesting around like sort of counter with AI agents and stuff like that. But and data science. So this, out of interest, how are you sort of preparing learners, and what are you doing to embrace?
Oh, well, again, we can't really shy away from it because it is out there and people do use it. So I would like to echo some of Amanda's statements, because we do introduce it as quickly as possible when, look, this is AI and this is what it can be used for. But instead of getting students to rely on it as if, say, look, this is all I need, I'd rather have them go, this is a useful tool and this is how to use it correctly, because it can be a very, very useful tool, especially in coding and even in cybersecurity, because there is a lot of AI in cybersecurity. There's no sugarcoating that. So it is very, very beneficial for students to be introduced to it as early as possible, and then just over the year, just trying to get them to use it in that useful way. So it's a tool rather than goes, oh, can you just solve this problem for me? And then just AI goes, yep, there it is. So they need to build on their own skills, but also build on the skills on how to use AI correctly as well.
Yeah, 100%. OECD did a big research piece like literally the other day, and that was around AI augmentation, I would say, around the whole AI literacy piece, but not leaning so hard on AI that it does all your thinking for you. You need that critical thinking piece. You need that knowledge to be able to then bounce back and stuff like that. Really, we're nearly out of time. The time's shot by. Could I just ask one last thing? If you used to be able to share one piece of advice for like another colleague, if he was having a cup of tea with someone, other side of the country, like you both are actually, but what would you want to share as one thing, as a bit of advice for immediate or in the future when thinking of alternate curriculum planning and be able to support learners? Armin, what would you want to share?
Bring strong foundation skills, so working on programming, networking, cyber, and other problem solving skills, because that's one of the key things employers are asking for, so soft skills. It helps learners to prepare for both university and employment, and get as many employers on board as possible and get them to shape curriculum with you, especially while we're going through all these changes.
Yeah, that sounds like a really, really good plan about taking employers on the journey with you and stuff like that. Chris?
I'd say just to make sure you're up to date with the technology that's out there. So again, I think we all got a bit blindsided with AI. So just introduce AI as quickly as possible, and then just see what else comes along the next corner. So just keep your finger on the pulse, really, because then at least you're going to be remaining relevant in the classroom. Yeah,
and then the learners are relevant to employment, to HE, to the future. Yeah, definitely. Vinay,
I was going to say about that. When we're talking about the AI, I mean, there are guidelines from the DFE which saying how best it can be used for the teacher for planning, teaching, and students to learn in the classroom. Whereas the OPCOL as a regulator saying the AI must be used effectively without causing a cheating or problems with the students using it to complete the assignments, for example. And JCQ provides an AI use in classroom for learning, teaching, and assessment guidance document. We, as a Cambridge OCR, have a whole public web page on the use of AI and support for teachers and in colleges and in schools. So there are a lot of information we have already provided and we continue to provide, because it's one thing where we have to ensure that what the students are learning, what the students are submitting for their part of their qualification achievement are not completed by AI. It is their own work with the use and learning from AI as a tool. As Chris said, it's a tool. I'm also saying it's an introduction as early as you can possibly in a positive way, then restricting students to say, no, please don't use, because everyone is using it and will be used more and more.
Yeah, no, definitely. Really, really helpful. We're out of time, everyone. Thank you so much for today. Armin, Chris, Vinay, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be coming back after the Easter break, so probably in about 2 weeks' time. So check out the full season on FE News. Thank you so much. Happy Easter, everyone.
Yeah,
and
happy Easter to everyone.
we'll see you really soon.